I neglected my younger daughter for years, then canceled her first international trip because it's not fair to my older daughter who can't afford one. When she was upset, I grounded her and demanded she break up with her wealthy boyfriend because it's not acceptable for her to have a better lifestyle than her sister. Now both daughters have cut me off. I canceled my 22-year-old daughter's trip to Paris because her 25-year-old sister couldn't afford to go. Let me say that again so you understand the level of delusion I was operating at. My daughter had saved for years, her boyfriend wanted to take her on her first international trip ever, and I called her and told her no. She couldn't go. Because it wouldn't be fair. Not fair to who? To her sister. Her sister who never asked me to cancel it. Her sister who was actually happy for her. But I decided that equality meant identical experiences, and if one daughter couldn't have Paris, neither could. I'm writing this from my empty house because I need someone to understand how a mother destroys two daughters with one twisted logic. How I took 22 years of guilt for neglecting one child and weaponized it into controlling her adult life. How I lost both my daughters by trying to force fairness instead of showing actual love. 4 months ago, I had 2 daughters who at least answered my calls. Now I have blocked numbers, returned letters, and the crushing realization that I destroyed both my daughters' lives by forcing them into a twisted version of equality that benefited no one. 4 months ago, I had 2 daughters who at least answered my calls. Now I have blocked numbers, returned letters, and the crushing realization that I destroyed both my daughters' lives by forcing them into a twisted version of equality that benefited no one. Let me start at the beginning, because every terrible choice I made came from one moment, realizing I'd neglected one daughter while favoring the other, and then overcorrecting in the worst possible way. I have 2 daughters. Megan, 25, and Sophie, 22. For most of their lives, I favored Megan. Not consciously at first, but looking back, it was obvious. Megan was my first baby. The one who made me a mother. She was easy, good sleeper, happy disposition, hit all her milestones early. I doted on her. Sophie came 3 years later. Unplanned. I was still adjusting to one child when suddenly there were 2. Sophie was a difficult baby. Colic, sleep issues, always fussy. I was exhausted and overwhelmed. I bonded with Megan easily. With Sophie, it took longer. And by the time I did bond with her, the pattern was set, Megan was the priority. Throughout their childhood, I invested more in Megan. More time, more attention, more money. When Megan wanted dance lessons, I signed her up immediately. When Sophie asked for art classes, I said we couldn't afford both. I went to all of Megan's dance recitals. I missed half of Sophie's school events because they conflicted with Megan's schedule. I helped Megan with college applications, essays, everything. Sophie largely did hers alone because I was busy. The favoritism was blatant. And I told myself it was just because Megan was older, needed more support, was more ambitious. All lies to justify my preference. Sophie grew up quiet and independent. She stopped asking me for things because she'd learned I'd say no or forget. She stopped sharing her achievements because I'd minimize them or compare them to Megan's. By the time Sophie graduated high school, we had a polite but distant relationship. I'd see her maybe once a week when she came home from college. We'd have surface-level conversations. She never shared anything real with me. Megan, meanwhile, called me daily. We were close. We were friends. Everything I'd wanted in a mother-daughter relationship. I didn't realize I'd sacrificed my relationship with Sophie to have it. 2 years ago, something happened that forced me to see the truth. Sophie's college roommate's mother met me at graduation. You must be so proud of Sophie. Full scholarship, Dean's List, already has a job lined up. I smiled and nodded, but internally I was shocked. Full scholarship? Dean's List? Sophie had never told me. Later, I asked her, why didn't you tell me about the scholarship? Or making Dean's List? She shrugged. Would you have cared? Of course I would have cared. Mom, you've never cared about what I do. You care about Megan. That's fine. I stopped expecting anything else a long time ago. It hit me like a truck. My daughter thought I didn't care about her. Sophie, that's not true. I love you just as much as Megan. Maybe you do. But you don't show it. You've never shown it. Megan is your daughter. I'm just the other kid who lives here. She left. I sat there, forcing myself to really look at my behavior. She was right. About all of it. I'd neglected Sophie her entire life. Missed her accomplishments. Dismissed her interests. Made her feel secondary to her sister. I felt horrible. Guilty. Determined to fix it. But instead of examining why I'd favored Megan and working to build a genuine relationship with Sophie, I decided the problem was inequality. That if I just made everything perfectly equal going forward, Sophie would feel loved. So I created rules. Ridiculous, controlling rules that I convinced myself were fair. Whatever I did for one daughter, I had to do for the other. Whatever I bought one, I had to buy the other. No exceptions. At first, this seemed reasonable. I started attending Sophie's events. I asked about her job. I tried to show interest. But then I took it too far. Megan was struggling financially. She'd graduated with a degree in art history and was working retail while trying to break into museum work. She was barely making ends meet. Sophie had graduated with a finance degree and landed a high-paying job at a consulting firm. She was doing well financially. This inequality bothered me. A lot. When Megan called upset about not being able to afford a new laptop, I bought her one. Then I bought Sophie one too. Even though she didn't need it and hadn't asked for it. Mom, I already have a laptop. A good one. I bought Megan one. It's only fair I buy you one too. But I don't need it. That's not the point. The point is equality. Sophie looked at me like I was crazy. But she took it. This became my pattern. Forced equality. Ignoring context, need, or desire. Just blind, mechanical fairness. When Megan needed help with rent one month, I gave her $500. Then I gave Sophie $500 too, even though she hadn't asked and didn't need it. When I took Megan out to dinner for her birthday, I insisted Sophie come too, even though Sophie had plans. We're celebrating as a family. Equally. Sophie started avoiding me. Mom, this forced equality thing is weird. Just treat us as individuals. I'm trying to make up for years of favoring Megan. I need to be fair. Fair doesn't mean identical. Fair means treating each of us according to our needs and situations. But I didn't listen. I was so caught up in my guilt about neglecting Sophie that I'd swung to the opposite extreme. Then came the Paris trip. Sophie's boyfriend, James, comes from money. Old money. His family is wealthy in a way that's hard to comprehend. Sophie and James had been dating for a year. He was kind, respectful, treated her well. I liked him, though I was intimidated by his family's wealth. For Sophie's 22nd birthday, James wanted to take her to Paris. A week-long trip. He'd pay for everything, flights, hotel, meals, everything. Sophie was ecstatic. She'd never been to Europe. Never been on a real vacation. She'd always been too busy working and studying. She told me about it over dinner. Mom, James is taking me to Paris for my birthday. Can you believe it? I've always wanted to go. I should have been happy for her. Should have celebrated her joy. Instead, my first thought was, but Megan can't afford to go to Paris. That's wonderful, honey, I said, forcing a smile. But inside, I was already scheming. This wasn't fair. Megan had never been to Paris either. If Sophie got to go, Megan should too. That night, I called Megan. Your sister is going to Paris with James. That's cool. Good for her. Don't you think it's unfair that she gets to go and you don't? Silence. Mom, what are you doing? I'm just saying, if one daughter gets a trip to Paris, both should. Sophie's boyfriend is paying. I'm not dating someone rich. That's life. But it creates inequality in your experiences. She'll have these memories and you won't. So? We're different people with different lives. I'm happy for her. But I wasn't. I couldn't stand the idea that Sophie would have something Megan didn't. The next day, I called Sophie. We need to talk about this Paris trip. What about it? I don't think you should go. What? Why? Because it's not fair to Megan. She can't afford a trip to Paris. It's not right for you to go when your sister can't. Sophie laughed. Thought I was joking. Mom, I'm not turning down a trip to Paris because Megan can't afford one. That's insane. It's not insane. It's fairness. I've been trying to treat you girls equally, and this violates that. You've been treating us identically, which is different from equally. And now you want me to give up an amazing experience because of your guilt? I want you to consider your sister's feelings. Megan told me she's happy for me. She doesn't care. She's just being nice. Deep down, it must hurt her. Sophie's voice got cold. Let me get this straight. You neglected me my whole life. Gave Megan everything. Now that I have something good happening, you want to take it away to make things fair? I'm trying to make up for the past. By ruining my present? That's your solution? I'm asking you not to go to Paris. Or to pay for Megan to come too. I can't afford to pay for Megan. And James invited me, not me and my sister. Then you shouldn't go. She hung up on me. I convinced myself I was right. That I was protecting Megan's feelings. That Sophie was being selfish. Sophie went ahead with plans for the trip. Booked time off work. Was getting her passport updated. 2 weeks before they were supposed to leave, I made my move. Sophie came over for dinner. I'd invited both girls, telling them I wanted to talk. "I've made a decision," I announced. "Sophie, you're not going to Paris." "Excuse me?" "I've thought about this a lot. It's not fair to Megan." "So you're not going?" "You can't stop me. I'm 22 years old. If you go, I'll be very disappointed. And I'll have to reconsider our relationship." Megan jumped in. "Mom, what are you doing? I never asked for this." "You don't have to ask. I'm your mother. I see that this is unfair, I'm fixing it." "By threatening Sophie? By taking away her trip? This is insane. This is equality." Sophie stood up. "I'm going to Paris. You can't stop me. And if you have a problem with that, then we don't need a relationship." She left. I turned to Megan. "Can you believe how selfish she's being?" Megan stared at me. "The only selfish person here is you. You're not protecting my feelings. You're salving your guilt by punishing Sophie. I'm done with this." She left too. I sat there, convinced they'd both calm down and see reason. They didn't. Sophie went to Paris. Posted beautiful photos on Instagram. The Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, cafes along the Seine. I stewed in resentment the entire week she was gone. When she got back, I called her. "We need to talk about your relationship with James." "What about it?" "I don't think it's healthy." "Why?" "Because he took me on a nice trip? Because he can provide a lifestyle you can't afford on your own. It creates dependency. And it's not fair to Megan that you get to live this comfortable life while she struggles." "Are you seriously telling me to break up with my boyfriend because he has money?" "I'm saying the inequality it creates is problematic for our family." Sophie was quiet for a long moment. "You're not protecting Megan. You're trying to control me. And I'm done." "Sophie." "No. I'm done. You neglected me for 22 years. Now that my life is going well, you want to drag me down to make things equal. That's not love. That's manipulation. I'm trying to make things fair. Fair would have been treating me well when I was a kid. Fair would have been coming to my events. Fair would have been caring about my achievements. You can't make up for 22 years of neglect by destroying my happiness now." She hung up. I was furious. How dare she throw my past mistakes in my face when I was trying to do better? I called Megan, expecting her to back me up. "Mom, you need to stop." "Stop what?" "Trying to treat you fairly. You're not treating me fairly. You're treating me like I'm fragile and jealous. I'm happy for Sophie. I don't need you to punish her on my behalf. But the inequality is fine. We're different people with different lives. Sophie has a wealthy boyfriend. Good for her. I'm dating a teacher I love. Good for me. We're both happy. You're the only one with a problem. I just don't want you to feel less than." "I don't. Until you started acting like I should. Your guilt is ruining both our relationships with you." She hung up too. For a few weeks, I had minimal contact with either daughter. Short texts. No calls. No visits. Then Sophie called. "Mom, I need to tell you something. James and I are moving in together. He has a condo downtown that his family owns. I'm giving up my apartment and moving in with him." My immediate reaction: that's not fair to Megan. She has to pay rent and you won't? Are you kidding me right now? I'm serious. How is Megan supposed to feel knowing her sister is living rent-free in a luxury condo? Megan is living with her boyfriend in his apartment. She's not paying full rent either. But he's not wealthy. It's different. Why? Because the dollar amount is different? Megan is just as happy in her situation as I am in mine. I don't approve of you moving in with James. The lifestyle difference it creates is too much. I don't need your approval. I'm 22. I'm financially independent. I'm doing this. If you do, I'll have to reconsider my relationship with you. This forced inequality is tearing our family apart. The only thing tearing this family apart is you. Your obsession with making everything exactly equal is insane. I'm trying to fix what I did wrong. By doing something different wrong. You neglected me for years. That was bad. Now you're trying to control my adult life to ease your guilt. That's also bad. The solution isn't swinging from one extreme to the other. What should I do then? I asked, genuinely confused. Treat us like individuals. Be happy when good things happen to us. Stop comparing our lives. And for God's sake, go to therapy and deal with your guilt instead of making it our problem. She hung up. Sophie moved in with James. I didn't speak to her for weeks. Then Megan called. Mom, I need you to hear this. Sophie called me crying yesterday. She wanted to share that she got a promotion at work. She's now one of the youngest senior analysts at her firm. She's thrilled. That's wonderful. She didn't call you to tell you. Do you know why? I didn't answer. Because she knew you'd find a way to make it about inequality. About how it's not fair that she's succeeding when I'm still in retail. She couldn't even share her joy with her mother because of your obsession. I just want things to be fair. They are fair. We're different people. We have different careers, different partners, different lives. That's not unfair. That's normal. But after how I treated Sophie as a child, I need to make up for it. Then be a supportive mother now. Be happy for her. Celebrate her achievements. Don't punish her for succeeding. I'm not punishing her. Yes, you are. You canceled her Paris trip in your mind. You tried to make her break up with James. You disapprove of her living situation. You can't be happy for her because you're so focused on manufactured fairness. What about you? I asked. Don't you feel bad that Sophie has more? No. I'm happy for my sister. I love her. I want good things for her. Your guilt is trying to create a competition that doesn't exist. Megan paused. Mom, I need you to understand something. Your favoritism hurts Sophie deeply. But your overcorrection is hurting both of us. Sophie feels controlled and resented. I feel patronized and pitied. Neither of us feels loved. I do love you both. Then show it by letting us live our lives. Stop trying to make everything equal. Stop using me as an excuse to control Sophie. Just be our mom. She hung up. I sat with that conversation for days, slowly realizing that she was right. I'd been so focused on achieving mechanical equality that I'd forgotten what actually mattered, supporting my daughters as individuals. I wrote both girls letters apologizing, trying to explain my thinking and how I now saw it was wrong. Sophie's response, I appreciate the apology. But words aren't enough. Until your actions change, I need distance. Megan's response, I'm glad you're seeing the problem. But you've hurt Sophie badly with this. She's pulling away from both of us. Fix this. I tried. I really did. I stopped making comments about fairness. Stopped comparing their lives. Tried to just be supportive. But the damage was done. Sophie stopped calling. Stopped visiting. Our relationship became birthday texts and occasional awkward dinners. Megan tried to maintain our relationship, but she was angry with me for driving Sophie away. 3 months after the equality campaign began, I got an email from Sophie. Mom. I'm writing this instead of calling because I need to say it clearly without interruption. For my entire childhood, you neglected me. You favored Megan in every possible way. I learned not to expect anything from you. I learned to be independent because asking you for support meant disappointment. I made peace with that. I accepted that you and I would never be close. I built a life without relying on you for anything emotional or financial. Then suddenly, when my life started going well, you decided to fix things by forcing equality. But your version of equality meant dragging me down, not lifting me up. It meant canceling my joy, policing my relationship, and treating my success as a problem to be solved. You took your guilt about neglecting me and turned it into a weapon against my happiness. I'm done. I need you to stop contacting me. I need space to heal from both versions of you, the neglectful mother and the controlling one. Maybe someday we can have a relationship. But right now, you're toxic to my well-being. Sophie. I read that email dozens of times. Each time, I wanted to argue. To defend myself. To explain that I was just trying to be fair. But she was right. I'd neglected her for 22 years. Then, when she finally built a happy life despite my neglect, I tried to tear it down in the name of fairness. I'd never actually tried to build a real relationship with Sophie. I'd just tried to mechanically balance the scales. I called my therapist. I'd finally started seeing one after Megan's ultimatum. I lost both my daughters, I told her. Tell me what happened. I explained everything. The childhood favoritism. The guilt. The forced equality. Sophie's email. So let me understand, my therapist said. You neglected Sophie her entire childhood. Then, instead of working to understand why and building a genuine relationship, you decided to force identical treatment to ease your guilt? I was trying to make things fair. No. You were trying to make yourself feel better. Sophie didn't need you to cancel her Paris trip. She needed you to be happy for her. To celebrate her joy. To make up for years of neglect by actually showing up for her emotionally. But Megan couldn't afford Paris. Megan didn't care. You cared. You created a competition between your daughters that neither of them wanted. You used Megan as an excuse to control Sophie. She was right. Of course she was right. Why do you think you favored Megan? She asked. I don't know. She was easier, I guess. More like me. We connected naturally. And Sophie? Sophie was difficult. Fussy as a baby. Quiet as she grew up. We never connected the same way. So you gave up on her? The words hit hard. I didn't give up. You did. Instead of working to understand Sophie and build a connection, you decided she was difficult and focused on the easy relationship with Megan. I was overwhelmed. Many parents are overwhelmed. That doesn't excuse favoring one child over another for 22 years. I started crying. I ruined both my daughters' childhoods. Megan got too much pressure to be the favorite. Sophie got nothing. And now they're both hurt. Now you're understanding. The question is, what are you going to do about it? How do I fix this? You can't fix 22 years of damage quickly. But you can stop making it worse. Stop trying to force equality. Stop using guilt as a guide. Start treating your daughters as individuals. Start celebrating their different paths. And give Sophie the space she's asking for. But if I give her space, I might lose her forever. You might. That's the consequence of your actions. But pushing now will guarantee you lose her. Space gives her room to heal. Pushing just re-traumatizes her. I left that session with clarity but no comfort. I respected Sophie's request for space. No calls. No texts. Just a quiet respect for her boundary. Megan I still saw occasionally. Our relationship was strained but present. How's Sophie? I'd ask. She's good. Really happy with James. Doing well at work. That's wonderful. Do you mean that? Or are you thinking about how it's not fair to me? I mean it. I'm working on it. Megan studied my face. I hope so. Because Sophie's not coming back until you actually change. And honestly, I'm not sure I want to be close to you either until you deal with your issues. Are you cutting me off too? I'm maintaining low contact. I love you. But I don't like who you've become. The mom who neglected Sophie was bad. The mom who tried to control her was worse. I'm waiting to see if there's a third version who can just be supportive. That hurt. But it was fair. 6 months passed. I stayed in therapy. Worked on my guilt, my control issues, my inability to treat my daughters as individuals. I learned that my favoritism of Megan stemmed from seeing myself in her. I'd projected my dreams and desires onto her, making her responsible for fulfilling what I hadn't achieved. I learned that my rejection of Sophie came from her being different from me. Instead of celebrating her independence and strength, I'd labeled her as difficult and pulled away. I learned that my forced equality was just control with a prettier name. I was trying to manage my daughters' lives to ease my own discomfort with inequality, without considering what they actually needed or wanted. Slowly, I started to change. Not just in how I thought, but in how I acted. I stopped asking Megan about Sophie. If she wanted to share, she would. But I stopped using Megan as a pipeline of information. I sent Sophie one email: I'm respecting your space. When and if you're ever ready to talk, I'm here. No pressure. I love you. She didn't respond. I didn't expect her to. Megan noticed the change. You seem different. I'm trying to be better. Not just say it. Actually be better. That's good. Keep it up. Our relationship slowly improved. Not to what it had been, but to something more authentic. Less about me needing her to be my favorite and more about actually knowing her as a person. I learned she wanted to switch careers from retail to social work. Instead of dismissing it or comparing it to Sophie's career, I asked about her plans and supported her. I learned she and her boyfriend were thinking about getting engaged. Instead of immediately planning or giving unsolicited advice, I just congratulated her and asked how she felt. Small changes? But Megan noticed. You're actually listening now, she said one day. I'm trying. Sophie might be open to talking someday. But you need to give her more time. She's been hurt badly. I know. I'll wait as long as it takes. 8 months after Sophie's email, Megan invited me to dinner with her and Sophie. She's willing to meet. One time. If you can handle it. I can handle it. Thank you. The dinner was at a neutral restaurant. Sophie arrived with James. She looked happy, healthy, confident. Nothing like the quiet, neglected girl she'd been. "Hi, Mom," she said carefully. "Hi, Sophie. You look wonderful." We made small talk. James was charming and kind. Megan filled awkward silences. Halfway through dinner, Sophie said, "I need to say something." "Okay. I'm not ready to have you back in my life fully. But Megan says you've changed. That you're in therapy. That you've stopped the forced equality thing." "I have. I'm so sorry for everything. For neglecting you as a child. For trying to control you as an adult. For using my guilt as an excuse to hurt you more." She nodded. "I appreciate that. But apologies aren't enough. I need to see sustained change over time. I understand. I'll do whatever you need. What I need is for you to be a normal mom. Not over-involved. Not under-involved. Just present when invited, supportive without being pushy, happy for both me and Megan without comparing our lives. I can do that. We'll see." The dinner ended cordially. Not warm, but not hostile either. A few weeks later, Sophie texted me. "James and I are getting engaged. I wanted you to know before you saw it on social media." "That's wonderful news. Congratulations to both of you. He's a good man and you're clearly happy together." "Thanks. Just so we're clear, I'm not asking for money for the wedding. I'm not asking you to be involved in planning. I'll invite you as a guest if the time comes. But that's the extent of it." "I understand. I'm just grateful to be invited at all." That was 3 months ago. Sophie and I text occasionally now. Brief updates. Nothing deep. But it's something. Megan and I have rebuilt our relationship to something healthier. Less enmeshed. More authentic. I'm not close to either daughter. I may never be again. That's the consequence of neglecting one child for 22 years and then trying to control her for months after. But they're both in my life peripherally. I'm invited to some events. Included in some conversations. It's not what I wanted. But it's more than I deserve. My therapist asked me recently what I've learned. That fairness doesn't mean identical treatment. That guilt is a terrible guide for parenting. That you can't make up for years of neglect by forcing equality. That treating children as individuals means accepting they'll have different lives with different levels of success and happiness. What else? That I almost lost both my daughters because I couldn't handle one succeeding after years of me neglecting her. That my need to control came from my discomfort with the consequences of my own past behavior. That the only way to truly make amends is to become a different person, not just to mechanically balance scales. She nodded. You're getting there. I think about that Paris trip often. How it represented everything I'd done wrong. Sophie wanted to experience something beautiful with someone who loved her. After years of getting nothing from me, she finally found happiness and security. And my response was to try to take it away in the name of fairness to a sister who didn't want me to. I created a problem that didn't exist. Made both daughters uncomfortable. Damaged our relationships further. All because I couldn't handle that Sophie's life was going well after I'd neglected her for so long. Sophie and James are getting married next summer. Megan is a bridesmaid. I'll be a guest. Seated in the back, probably. Invited but not integral. That's appropriate. I haven't earned anything more. Megan is applying to grad school for social work. She's excited. I'm supportive without being overbearing. Both my daughters are building lives that don't center me. That's healthy. That's what I should have encouraged from the start. If you're reading this and you're trying to make things fair between your children, please understand, fairness doesn't mean identical. It means treating each child according to their needs, celebrating their individual successes, and not using one child's circumstances to control another's. Don't do what I did. Don't neglect one child and favor another. But also don't overcorrect by trying to force perfect equality in adulthood. Just love them. As individuals. Support them. Be happy for their different paths. That's all they ever wanted. I neglected my younger daughter for 22 years. Then I canceled her Paris trip, tried to make her break up with her wealthy boyfriend, and controlled her life in the name of fairness to her sister who never asked for it. Now I'm not really part of either daughter's life. That's what happens when you treat guilt as a parenting guide and use one daughter's feelings as an excuse to control the other's life. You lose them both. And you deserve to.